Hello everyone, this is part 14 of What If Naruto Had Some Help, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Ino was asleep when she heard a crash downstairs and she quickly pulled on a bathrobe and ran down the stairs of her home. When she got to the front room and turned on the light and she thought, what was that noise? She then heard another crash and thought, that's coming from outside in the alley. Miko. As she slowly snuck outside and saw Naruto on the stairs and she saw he was trying to crawl up the steps and the trash cans had been what had been knocked over was what made the noise. Ino ran over and said, Naruto, what's going on? Naruto gasped out in pain, no, as his eyes were glossed over and he slowly collapsed into her arms. Ino sighed and thought, why is he going to Miko and why didn't Anko bring him by earlier instead of this late at night, as she started to drag him back toward her house. When Ino got him inside to the couch, she ran back and locked the door. She quickly got the supplies she had bought the day before and she went to where Naruto was and she began taking his cloths off and thought, damn, what is that woman do? Okami. As she saw the whip marks on his back that were whelped up. She went upstairs and got her pillows and threw them over the balcony and got the ones from her dad's room and threw them down as well and went over and made a pallet on the floor out of pillows. She then started to tend to him as she had been doing and as she was doctoring his wounds she frowned as he had a fever and thought, must be poisoned again. As she finished with the wounds and placed him down on the pallet she had made so he wouldn't be on his back or stomach so she could still take care of him and started with the ice water keeping his fever down. When Inoki walked in around 4 in the morning he saw Ino and Naruto again and he said, this is starting to become repetitive Ino. Ino glared at him and said, where does Anko live? Inoki thought a moment and said, I don't know, why? Ino said, I plan to K her, making Inoki blink and ask, huh? Ino sighed and said, look at Naruto dad. I mean actually look at him right now and tell me what you see. Inoki walked over and thought, why is he scarring and, whoa, now I see why Shush is pissed, and said, looks like H is being whipped into shape. Ino yelled, shut up daddy, this isn't funny. Naruto mumbled, you're too loud Ino, come back to bed, as he pulled the covers over his head. Ino became flushed with embarrassment as her dad burst out laughing. Ino picked up a pillow and threw it at her dad and said, go to bed dad and stop laughing. I'm going to get a few hours sleep, as she grabbed a pillow and laid down on the couch. Inoki bit his lip and said, you sure you don't want to lay down there with your boyfriend? Ino said, only if you want me to try and get grandkids for you. Inoki, who was laughing a moment before, paled and he quickly went upstairs and Ino quickly fell asleep. The next morning Ino woke up feeling someone staring at her and she opened her eyes and saw Naruto looking at her and she said, you know it's rude to stare at someone in their sleep. Naruto stuttered, what happened last night Ino? Ino asked, what do you mean, the usual? Naruto became flushed and said, so you trying to get kids as usual, as he looked away. Ino blinked and asked, who? You heard that huh? Naruto said, so it's true and you been taking advantage of me. Ino quickly waved her hands and said, no, let me explain please. Naruto saw how frantic she looked and said, alright. Ino said, dad came in and said something that upset me and I yelled and you mumbled in your sleep I was loud and I needed to come back to bed. I then got a pillow and started to lay down on the couch here and dad said something about laying with my boyfriend and I was embarrassed and told him only if he wanted me to try and get him grandkids. It was a joke Naruto to stop him from laughing at me. Naruto asked, but I'm not your boyfriend, am I? As he looked at her with confusion on his face. Ino giggled at the look on his face and he said, sorry, I didn't mean to make you laugh at me, as he looked away. Ino quickly got up and hugged him and said, I'm not laughing at you. Okay I am but not the reason you think. The look on your face was so cute I just had to laugh. As for the boyfriend part, I don't know, I'm not the easiest girl to have for a girlfriend. I can be pretty demanding at times. You interested? Naruto thought a moment and asked, what kind of benefits I get, to see where this was going. Ino smirked and said, "Oh, I think I can find something," as she leaned in and kissed him on the lips. Naruto was shocked first and then slowly returned the kiss, and Ino pulled back with half-lidded eyes and slowly stood up and sat down on the couch looking at Naruto and touched her lips and looked toward the store and back at Naruto and after a few seconds she said, "You have MPD, don't you?" Naruto tensed as he heard that and after seeing the look on her face sighed and asked, "How did you know?" Ino said as she looked at him, "I think I understand now, the way Miko knew so much about you, the way you keep coming from the loft and why you were trying to go there last night. How you have training with Dad on Thursdays and I didn't see her and why Miko was so tired when I talked to her after you had been poisoned. Why Miko is never home when you're training. You're Miko." A Noiki voice from the top of the stairs said, "One of his personalities is actually." Naruto was looking down and Ino said, "No wonder when we kissed I got the same feeling I got from kissing Miko, you also taste the same. So know that I know your secret and where you live, still want the job." Naruto face planted and Inoiki burst out laughing. Naruto looked up at the ceiling and said, "Why do I got the feeling my life just got very troublesome?" Inoiki came down the stairs and said, "You have no idea Naruto. By the way, you're late for team practice Ino and you can clean up this mess Naruto before you start your duties," as he went into the kitchen. Naruto looked at Ino who was smiling looking at Naruto and asked, "Are you sure you want me as a boyfriend? I thought you liked Sasuke." Ino said, "The Sasuke I thought I liked was a fantasy, just like the world I lived in back then. Now that I see the real world I found me someone who's also really a frog prince." Naruto blinked and thought, "You know, I guess you could say I am the frog prince in a way, Dad was a frog summoner." Ino got up and said, "Well, I guess I better get ready for the day, Asuma-sensei going to have my ass if I am much later." Naruto slowly got up and said, "Hey, Ino, thanks for everything." Ino walked over and put her arm around him and said, "That's what I'm here for, but don't forget to get the garbage you knocked over as well." Before Naruto could groan, Ino kissed him quickly and ran up the stairs. Naruto was in a daze when he heard her door slam and a few seconds later a loud squeal was heard. Naruto sighed as he walked into the kitchen and Inoiki was leaning against the counter drinking a cup of coffee and Naruto said, "So?" Inoiki said, "Just make her happy and don't hurt her and we're fine kid. I trust you." Naruto said, "Thank you sir, but what am I supposed to do now? I never really had a girlfriend before and I." Inoiki walked over and placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder and said, "Kid, I will tell you the same advice my dad told me when I first started to date. Take it a day at a time, trust your feeling, remember to make her feel special when you can and never betray her trust. You do that and things are going to be fine." Naruto nods and walks over and gets a glass of water and Inoiki asked, "So what's with the scars, shouldn't you be healing from them?" Naruto frowned as he pulled the glass of water away from his mouth and said, I met the fox and we had an argument." Inoiki's eyes went wide and said, "Talk." Naruto sighed as he looked out the window and said, "Well." Flashback. Naruto was crying as he stood looking over Konoha after he watched his things get burned by his former manager. He thought, "I can't take this any longer, I am tired of everyone hating me for something I didn't do, I am tired of everything. Death would be better." As he pulled out a kunai and he slashed his arms several times and as they tried to heal he kept cutting them and he growled and as he saw them trying to heal and he screamed before running toward the edge and leapt off. As Naruto hit the ground below the mountain he felt incredible pain and blacked out. Naruto awoke in a sewer and thought, "Where am I?" as he saw a red glow. Naruto slowly walked toward the glow and soon came to a huge chamber with a cage and a tag with the word seal on it. He looked around when two red eyes appeared inside the cage and a voice said, "So foolish mortal, you have finally come." Naruto was wide-eyed as he saw the shape of Kyuubi appear. Naruto asked, "What am I doing here Kyuubi and where are we?" Kyuubi chuckled and said, "You really think you can talk to me like that mortal? I will feast on your bones when I escape." Naruto said, "Not going to happen asshole. I remember what happened right before I appeared here. I jumped off the mountain and I should be S right now." Kyuubi said, "Yes, you would be if I had not healed you." Naruto's eyes got wide and screamed, "What, you thing fox, why do you make me suffer? Let me S." Kyuubi said, "Release me and you can S." Naruto said, "Never." Kyuubi said, "You will release me, boy, but I will make it where you can remember what those you are protecting make you suffer." With that, Naruto appeared on the ground. As he tried to move, he felt bones snap and he screamed out in pain. End flashback. Naruto sighed and said, "Ever since then, every wound I get scars. I always was prideful growing up. Before I knew of the fox, that I always had flawless skin no matter what. He left these as my first reminders." As he showed his arms, Inoki frowned and asked, "Why haven't you told us before?" Naruto was silent a few minutes and said, "I was waiting for you to betray me like everyone else has." Inoki walked over and said, "Naruto, not everyone is evil." Naruto closed his eyes and said, "Until now everyone showed me they were." Ino, who had came into the kitchen a few minutes earlier, looked down, closing her eyes, and Naruto said, "Don't shed tears for me, Ino," without turning around. Ino looked up shocked and Naruto said, "You smell of jasmines, Ino, so I knew when you walked in." Ino asked, "But how did you know I was going to cry?" Naruto turned and said, "Whenever something goes wrong and you blame yourself for it, you always cry. You have done that for years. It's part of your character." Ino frowned and Inoki said, "Well, if you ever talk to it again, Naruto, let me know." Naruto said, "I will." Ino said, "Well, I better get going." Naruto saw her hug her dad and she came over and hugged him as well and was about to kiss him, and Naruto said, "I think I should tell you something first, Ino. Don't tell anyone about us yet, and don't tell about me and Miko being the same." Ino asked, "Why can't I tell others about us?" Naruto said, "Ino, if people find out we're together right now, they will start to treat you different. Please give me a little time to show people I am not Kyuubi and I am someone respectable that you can be proud to be with." Ino said, "But." Inoki sighed and said, "I hate to say it, Ino, but H is right." Ino looked down and said, "It's not fair." Naruto bit his lip and said, "How about this, Ino? The Chunin exams are going to be held here this time around. If you can wait until the exams, then you can tell whoever you want." Ino frowned and asked, "When are they?" Inoki said, "A little less than 5 months, though. How do you know about them, Naruto?" Naruto smirked and said, "The Hokage already informed Ibiki H is the first proctor. I saw the official orders on his desk." Inoki blinked and burst out laughing and said, "Oh man, you don't know how many people would give their right leg to have that information that you have now." Naruto shrugged and said, "Hey, I may not be book smart, but I do pick up things." Ino bit her lip and stomped on Naruto's foot, making him scream, "Ouch," and hop on the other one a few seconds, and she said, "Now you listen here. I don't care what people think. If they want to treat me different, then fine, go ahead and treat me different. I will not hide how I feel for you now that I understand I love you." Naruto said, "But." Ino stomped on his other foot and he said, "All right, you win," as he hopped on his already sore foot. Ino smirked and said, "Good, now don't forget, you and me have dinner date tonight at 6. Naruto said, "I won't forget. You remember where?" Ino nods and kisses him before she runs off. Naruto sighed as he looked down, and Inoki walked over and put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and said, "Welcome to the world of men, Naruto." Naruto couldn't help it and burst out laughing. After he calmed down, he sighed and said, "Inoki-sensei, can I have this afternoon off?" Inoki asked, "Why?" Naruto said, "I need to see the old man and see if I can get a mission for some money. I had my clones buy groceries yesterday for me and I am broke now." Inoki asked, "What about you bounty pay?" Naruto blinked and asked, "What bounty pay?" Inoki shook his head and said, "Go see the Hokage and ask him about the bounty on Itachi and kiss him. Go ahead and take today off, Naruto, since you and Ino have a date. I can handle the store." Naruto nods and he quickly leaves, and Inoki sighs after Naruto leaves and thought, "I hope you understand what you're getting yourself in for, Ino." Naruto soon made it to the Hokage Tower and he walked toward the Hokage office, and the secretary said, "H is in a meeting right now, Naruto." Naruto sighed and asked, "Can I wait to see him? It's important." The secretary said, "Sure, he will be done in a few," as the door to the room opened and Team 10 came walking out, and Ino saw Naruto and said, "Hello, Naruto-kun." Naruto said, "Hello, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Sigs." Asuma smirked and said, "It's been a while, Naruto. How you doing?" Naruto said, "All right, I guess." Ino blinked and looked back and forward between Asuma and Naruto and asked, "Wait, you both know each other?" Asuma chuckled and said, Yeah, before I left to join the Fire Temple Guards, I was the unfortunate victim of a 6-year-old Naruto prank. Naruto snorts and said, "Hey, you deserved it." Asuma said, "True, but you're the reason I started to smoke." Ino asked, "What did you do, Naruto, and why did he deserve it?" Naruto said, "Gigi had promised to take me out for ramen and we got there and Asuma showed up and Asuma here had a fight with Gigi over something and when Gigi wasn't looking Asuma poured an entire jar of salt in Gigi ramen." Everyone snickered at that but Naruto and Choji, and Naruto said, "It wouldn't have been bad if Gigi didn't leave after that and gave me the ramen." Choji said, "Oh, that's terrible." Ino asked, "So what did you do to get even and why did he start smoking?" Naruto shrugged and said, "Nothing much. I stole his wallet, broke into the Hyuga compound, stole all their underwear, put it on the Uchiha gates and left his wallet with the underwear and left his picture ID in Hiyashi bathroom." Crickets chirped as everyone gaped at Naruto and Ino said, "No, you're joking, right?" Asuma said, "I received so many threats to having my manhood gyukened and set on fire from both clans, Dad had no choice but to get me out of town by sending me to join the Fire Guard. In the time it took to sort the mess out I was jumping at every noise afraid I would be a female if I fell asleep. Sigs helped me relax." The third who had came out hearing Naruto and them talk said, "Ironically that was what we had fought over to begin with because he didn't want to join them. After that prank he begged to join them." Naruto said, "Hey Gigi." The third said, "Hello Naruto, what can I do for you?" Naruto said, "Inoki-sensei told me to come talk to you about some bounty." The third said, "Oh yes, come on inside and I will have the bounty money gathered for you." Naruto nods and said, "Well, good luck you guys," as he walked in. Ino shook her head and thought, and we all thought he was the slast. None of us could have pulled that off. Inside the Hokage office, the third who had already summoned an Anbu who quickly left said, "So Naruto, what have you been up to?" Naruto said, "Training. You wouldn't happen to know anyone who could give me advice on a sword, would you?" The third said, "I assume you have Kisame famous sword then." Naruto said, "Yeah." The third smoked his pipe a moment and said, "Nobody in this village uses swords like that one. The few we do have that use swords are mostly katana and shortswords." Naruto thought a moment and said, "That's fine. I think I might be able to figure it out later. Anyways, I wanted to ask, what happened with that mission we were on after I got captured?" The third said, "I sent 2 teams of Anbu back to the village and liberated it. I also put that mission down as completed for you since your mission was to interrogate the prisoner and find out the location of the mayor's daughter. You did that, not in that order, but you still completed your objectives and saved the lives of your comrades." Naruto frowned at that and said, "I did what I had to do and I really didn't do much. If anyone should be given credit for me still being alive, it's Itachi." The third nods and an Anbu appeared with a scroll and handed it to the third and quickly left, and the third said, "Here you go. Inside this scroll is $4,388,324. It is the pay for your mission as well as the bounties on Itachi and Kisame." Naruto was wide-eyed as he looked at the scroll, and the third said, "I read the report, Naruto, from everyone else, and you may think you're only alive because Itachi let you live, but you're wrong. You used surprise and deception to stall for time to allow the poison to spread through their boss. Yes, Itachi kept quiet about it, but he had already realized when you had hit him and Kisame that they were S. He respected that." Naruto frowned and said, "It don't seem right. If it was that easy to win a fight, then why doesn't everyone use poisons?" The third said, "Very good question, Naruto. Let me show you something my Anbu found when they went back to the village," as he pulled out a folder and opened it. He pulled out a page and said, "The reason more ninja don't use poisons is because of this right here, Naruto. When you took Kisame and Itachi head, you did not destroy the body. That is something that you were not aware you needed to do, so you really can't be blamed for it, but because of that, somebody found their body and after checking it for valuable information they discovered how they SD and spread the information." Naruto said, "So someone knows they SD by poison?" The third handed Naruto the paper and said, "No, they know which poisons they SD by, and now because of the bingo book listing that you were the one who cared them, I would say in less than 3 months almost everyone who hears about Itachi and Kisame death are going to know which poisons they SD by and by who, and they also will know what to take to cure the poison. In your case, a B." Naruto blinked and asked, "A bee?" The third pointed to the page and said, "According to the information the Anbu gathered while in the village and after checking it with Anko who verified it, all anyone who is poisoned by you has to do is within 15 minutes of being poisoned is to take a honeybee and sting themselves where they were poisoned. The neurotoxins from the bee will neutralize the poison, meaning if Itachi or Kisame would have known that, you would be S. That is the reason why more people don't use poisons. They do a great job when nobody knows about them, but if the enemy knows of them then they could be prepared to neutralize them and you lose your advantage. This is exactly why when you kill someone you should destroy the body after taking the head so you can keep your secrets safe." Naruto frowned and said, "So you're saying using my whips won't do me any good now?" The third said, "No, information is only good for the moment. As word spreads about your poisons it will get distorted and soon people won't know if what they heard is true or not, and yes, some people will believe it but others won't. People will know you use poisons. That is a given now and people will look for it when they fight you if they have heard of you. As long as you remember to destroy the body after you kill the person, then it will make it harder for people to know which poisons you use, and every once in a while you need to add a new poison that won't be affected by bees. What I am trying to say is you have to guard your secrets, Naruto. You got lucky this time, but Akatsuki will definitely try to find out what poisons you used, so you need to be prepared because I can guarantee the next time you face them they will have a bee with them in a jar or something, just to be safe." Naruto was quite a few minutes and said, "Thanks Gigi. I think I understand now." The third said, "Good, now I am busy so have a good day Naruto." Naruto nods and quickly left. As he was walking through town he headed toward the wolf claw weapon shop. When he got there he saw Dustin behind the counter and Naruto said, "Has my order come in?" Dustin said, "Yeah, heard you had some adventure," as he walked over and locked up. Naruto said, "Something like that." Dustin said, "Follow me so we can talk," as he led him to the basement. When they got there he asked, "So I hear you killed Itachi and Kisame?" Naruto frowned and said, "Yeah." Dustin asked, "Did you happen to take Kisame's sword?" Naruto said, "Yeah, why?" Dustin said, "There's been a lot of people looking for it on the black market. You interested in selling it?" Naruto said, "No, in fact I need some books on how to use it." Dustin said, "Well I can help you with that or I could help you another way." Naruto asked, "What do you mean?" Dustin frowned and said, "I mean I could help arrange for you to get an actual instructor but it will cost you." Naruto asked, "How much and who's the instructor?" Dustin said, 2 million at least. Naruto's eyes got wide and asked, "Why so much?" Dustin leaned against the wall and said, "The guy is a missing nin. He is also the leader of the 7 swordsmen when they were all in mist before they all went rogue." Naruto asked, "What's his name and why should I trust him?" Dustin said, "His name is Mirai. H is also the Jinchuriki of the Sanbi." Naruto's eyes went wide and asked, "Where is he?" Dustin said, "That's where it gets complicated. I only know one person who knows where he is located and that is Zabuza Momoki, who was also a member of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Word is Mirai helped Zabuza escape the mist, so Zabuza owes him big time. I can arrange a meeting with you and Zabuza, but then it will be up to you to convince him to arrange a meeting with Mirai." Naruto frowned and asked, "Are you sure you can arrange the meeting?" Dustin said, "Yeah, that's no problem." Naruto said, "Do it." Dustin said, "Already done," making Naruto's eyes wide. Naruto asked, "What do you mean?" Dustin said, "Just be at the Hokage office tomorrow at 8 a.m. and be prepared for combat and to leave the village for an extended period of time." Naruto said, "All right," as he grabbed the scroll with his instructions for the whip and left. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.